I'd say that there are more insecure times as an artist for me than there are secure times financially, artistically. And I think that is the nature of an artist's life.
That was Michel Nouri, actor you've seen on the silver screen, television, and on the stage. In this episode, he tells a whole lot of truth. Just keep on listening. 2, 3, 4. Hey there, podcast people. John here. You are listening to Season 2, Episode 6 of Make Moves. In this episode, you're going to hear an interview with Michel Nouri, the actor who has got well over 100 credits for his work in film, TV, and on stage. Most recently, you may have seen him on Manhunt, Unibomber, the Discovery Channel series, where he plays Bob Guccione. He was in the Spielberg film The Terminal. You might have seen him in The Proposal. You've maybe seen him on NCIS, Damages with Glenn Close, Law and Order, CSI, The Young and the Restless, The Gangster Chronicles. I think his big breakout really was Flashdance. This guy has had some moments of extreme fame, but he has also been a relentless working actor. He just works all the time. But as you'll hear as you listen to this episode, he is more than an actor. He is also a very well-rounded human being. And I think in this episode, he shares a lot of truth that listeners like you and me can learn a lot from. If you're new to Make Moves and you're just catching on here because you're a fan of Michel Nouri, I hope you will enjoy this episode. If you like it, please do subscribe to this podcast. If you really like it, I hope you'll rate the show, review it, maybe even share it with some friends. You know, I want to tell you, I'd never met Michel Nouri before the moment when we turned the mic on. And as he was walking up to meet me, he looked so casual and relaxed. He was walking a dog. He had on some cool sunglasses and I think some kind of a Hawaiian shirt. He was with a couple of friends. And it was instantly like an old pal, you know. He just had this sense of comfort and made me feel comfortable. So I thank him for that because he is actually the first actor that I've ever interviewed. And I was a little bit nervous. I mean, those of you who know me well may know that I spent the majority of my life trying to understand things about music. And, I have kind of a big cultural blind spot towards some things having to do with film and TV. And it's not for lack of the creative merits that they bring. It's just that I hadn't really been focusing on it until more recently in my life. And so, that made me a little nervous. Anyway, Michel was really great. I felt so comfortable talking with him and he shared so much. I think you're really going to enjoy it. Okay, well, I'm going to turn off my microphone here. You turn on your ears. I will check in about the halfway point and play a little bit of music. Until then, happy listening, friends. Hey, Michel, thanks for coming on Make Moves.
John, good to be with you.
You have a crap ton of film and TV credits. They span over 5 decades, which means you were real young when you started. Can you tell me 4 or 5 key roles or things that you did that you feel like defined your career or your life?
Sure. I started out 1968, Goodbye Columbus. Had a small part in that movie. That was Ally McGraw's debut into movies. And then I went to Broadway and I did 40 Carats with Julie Harris. And then I came out to Los Angeles and I started doing television series, and I did that for about 15 years, back and forth, New York, Los Angeles, doing series work. And then Flashdance happened in 1983, and that was certainly an enormous amount of exposure because of the success of that movie. A movie called The Hidden, which was sci-fi, that was great. Victor Victoria on Broadway with Julie Andrews, working with Blake Edwards and working with Julie and being on Broadway with her was a great experience. Doing the national tour of South Pacific right at the time of 9/11 was particularly rewarding because traveling around the country when the country was so vulnerable, and I had suggested to the producer that we, at curtain call, if we could sing "God Bless America," and the first time that we did it at Indiana University in Bloomington, it was the first time that we did it after 9/11. It was probably on the 14th, and the audience just spontaneously rose, and strangers putting their arms around each other, and there was this huge emotional release. And then we did a fundraiser for the victims of 9/11, and we did that from town to town, and we raised a considerable amount of money, which I had the honor of delivering to the Pentagon and to the mayor of New York at the time, and so on. So that was incredibly rewarding for me. Probably the most gratifying experience in my career, because I was feeling artistically satisfied and gratified, and also spiritually gratified. I really felt like, wow, what we do, it really can make a difference. Most recently, I have this show, the series that is premiering tonight, called Manhunt, the Unibomber, in which I play Bob Guccione, which was it was terrific. I love to get lost in characters, and Guccione was a fascinating guy. I love being able to do research and then kind of infuse a character with my own interpretation about what they are. I did that with Lucky Luciano in 1980 in a series called The Gangster Chronicles. I played John Fetters, who was the head of the Securities Exchange Commission, a guy who was kicked out because of spousal abuse. That was a tough role to play. It's hard to pinpoint and say which ones. I'd have to say, obviously, Flashdance was the most visible and impactful one, which has more upside than downside to it. The only downside to it would be that people would tend to overlook all of the wonderful stage work and other roles because Flashdance was so impactful and visible.
Yeah, I encourage listeners, if you're out there, really check out the IMDb page. There is no shortage of impressive things and a pretty broad range. I mean, I didn't even know where to start. So rather than try and give you the abridged version of your career back to you, I'll just say, people, go check it out. If you want to do the deep dive, there's a lot there to examine.
Yeah, it's one thing that a lot of people don't know about me is that I sing, and I love to sing, and that's my favorite. That's my very favorite thing. That's my main passion. So when I had the opportunity to do South Pacific and to sing with Julie Andrews, that was a great treat.
In your career, what's sort of been the difference between what you thought was going to happen and what actually happened?
I don't know. I don't know how to answer that. I don't know.
Did you ever expect any or all of this?
No. I didn't know what to expect. I was just always, well, in the beginning. And this is one thing that I when I'm invited to talk to young actors and students, I tell them that when you are riding high and you're hired for a TV series, or you've got a hit show, you have this sense that it's never going to end and it's always going to grow and grow from there. And it's rare that is the case. So I encourage them to save their money and to be smart and to develop a common sense business rules, because it is a very fluctuating. The business itself is very unpredictable and fluctuating, and so I not until well into my career did I develop any kind of common sense about being practical and saving money. I was pretty stupid, and but I had a great time.
I think that's how people often overlook all the things they should be doing.
Kind of like a rock star, in the beginning.
Yeah. You have kind of an interesting cultural background, if I'm not mistaken. Could you just tell me a little bit about that? And did that impact how you Did the family and friends think anything special or different about you because you were sort of pursuing this pathway? Did that weigh in any way or shape you?
Well, my background, my father was born in Baghdad, Iraq. And he came to the States when he was 18. He was an extraordinarily bright man, an ambitious man, and brave. At the age of 18, to leave, to change cultures, to change worlds, and to come to a country that he didn't know at all. He had an IBM scholarship. He was educated by Jesuits in Baghdad. Came to Georgetown in Washington, where he met my mom. My mom is of Irish descent. And they were married 3 weeks after they met. And I think that the physical combination of an Arab and a Celt created this this person that I am, physically, psychologically, emotionally. Complicated. Well, physically, it's been very, very good because I can play pretty much anything. Italians, Greeks, Mediterranean. I can play just about anything. So I've got, it's both very passionate. There's a very passionate DNA. My father also being very poetic, but my mother is very poetic. They were both writers and very romantic people.
In your creative life, you've had a pretty broad career, but what has felt like the biggest creative risk you took?
That's easy to answer because it just leapt to mind. It was a musical that I was completely ill-prepared for as an actor. And it was a show that was being done at the Mark Taper Forum, and it was with Carol Burnett, and it was called Putting It Together. And I learned the importance of auditioning. And I had this kind of elitist attitude toward auditioning before this event. Like, wouldn't it be nice if I was just offered the part? Well, the auditioning can serve two purposes. It informs the hiring people, but it also informs the artist as to whether they are really qualified to do a part. Something that you could only discover through the process of auditioning. Well, I was offered this part that required dancing, singing, and acting. Well, I had the acting and the singing down, but the dancing thing, forget about it. So there I was with people who could do all three and very well. And it was the most painful artistic experience of my career because I just couldn't cut it. And I had to step down. It was about 2 weeks before it was going to premiere at the Mark Taper Forum. And so I said to the director and to Carol Burnett, I apologized, and I just couldn't cut it. So,
that's interesting. I've wondered a lot about when do you know when it's time to say I can't pull this off.
Yeah, I knew the first day.
Yeah,
I did. I knew the first day, and I just tried to kind of muscle my way through it and study my way through it and do it. But it was so antipathetic to me that I just could not. There are things that you just are not in your skill set. And dancing, I'm fine in ballroom dancing. I can do that. But choreographed dancing, my brain don't work that way.
Not going to happen.
No.
Do you think there was a value in learning that the hard way?
Yes. There was a great value in that because now I am very willing to audition when I'm asked to.
I can imagine, over time, maybe I'm wrong, but imagine over time as you get more established, you have more capacity or more influence over what type of roles you can accept or want to accept. And I was kind of wondering, how do you figure out what stories or characters you want to get attached to or you want to dive into?
Well, let's talk about confidence for one thing, because I think that it's really I become increasingly confident in what my skill set is. And going back to the last thing we were just talking about that auditioning, and that informed me of the importance of knowing what I cannot do. The ego will tell you, oh yeah, I can do anything. And it's not true. It's not true. Clint Eastwood can't sing, and he learned that when he was singing, I talk to the trees and they don't listen to me. But there is nobody who does Clint Eastwood better than Clint Eastwood when he's doing what he does, and there is only one Michael Nouri, and I am at my best when I am within and I'm not saying to avoid taking chances, because I love that. I love doing things that scare me. But they have to be things that I can service and really serve. So I think it's the difference between coming from ego and coming from informed intelligence.
And thinking that you can provide, I like the word service, to the project or the role.
That's the ultimate goal for me, really. The ultimate goal for me in art as in life is to be of service.
When I was younger, I had this job as a room service waiter, and it's a great way to corrupt your children if any of you parents are wanting to find a way. And the room service office was in the back of a kitchen, and everyone spoke Spanish all around me. And over the course of about 5 or 6 years, I picked up some kitchen Spanish, and I actually picked up a pretty good accent, but I was always afraid to use the accent. I was always afraid that everyone else was going to think that I was trying to be an imposter. I was always afraid that maybe it would work too well and I'd get in over my head. And it sounds like this confidence thing. For me, I look at someone like you and I think, how exactly do you get the confidence to put yourself out there and try to be someone you're not? And does that get you in over your head? And it sounds like, yes.
Yes.
Sometimes it does, but how do you even come to grips with the confidence part?
Yes. There is an arrogance, I think, that all performers have. You can call that a healthy ego. Arrogance certainly has a negative connotation to it. That's off-putting, but you can. I'd love to play arrogant characters like Richard III or this guy John Fetters, the head of the SEC, was incredibly narcissistic, and it's wonderful to play those guys. There's a difference. Where I am not I am confident in my knowledge that I am not confident about dancing, doing choreography. So that is something I will not attempt again unless I have 6 months of rehearsal and preparation time. And if it's on radio and not on camera.
Yeah, radio dances.
Radio dance is great.
I think most of us could do that. I like to ask people a lot about their relationships and their support networks, because I think it's interesting and it's not the thing that usually comes up in interviews. So thank you for talking about craft and that. But I wanted to ask you a little bit, at some point you're taking big risks in your career, or you're just having to survive and finding ways to be courageous or vulnerable. Who did you lean on in those, or who do you lean on in those times? Is it colleagues? Is it family, friends? Are you the kind of guy who just keeps it all inside? How has that worked?
I tend to keep it all inside. I'm not very good at that, and it's not healthy for me to do that. I play guitar. I'm a musician. My therapy, it's very therapeutic for me to play the guitar, and I do that. I keep a guitar on a stand in the living room, and I keep one next to my bed at night, and almost every night I will play the guitar for, it depends on how long, at least 15, 20 minutes, and it's a wonderful way of self-soothing. for me. I belong to a men's group that I've been attending for 20 years. An enormous amount of support that I get from these gentlemen who are from a variety of different professions. But we are all in the room together, united in a common cause of being the best me that I can be, and we call each other out on our bullshit, and we support each other in that way. And I'd say that there are more insecure times as an artist for me than there are secure times financially, artistically, and I think that is the nature of an artist's life. Now, for an actor obviously has to rely on writers and other actors. A painter can paint, a musician can write, but an actor is kind of uniquely solitary. It's a solitary endeavor. And it can be kind of uniquely neurotic because of that, because of the insecurity in it. So the antidote to that is to be involved. I was watching this fabulous show last night by Carl Reiner. It's a movie. I think it's on HBO, and it's called I Read the Obit, and if I'm not in it, I eat breakfast. I don't know if you've seen it, but it is brilliant. And there is not a person under, except for Jerry Seinfeld, who's in it, there's not a person under 90 in this movie. And it is all about what defines a successful, happy life that usually translates into longevity. And it's about engaging and about being involved. And if you are lucky enough to do something that you love doing, do it and spend as much time doing that as possible.
You know, coming up, my father was a musician. I tell people this all the time, but I really wanted to be good at music. And I had this vision that one day I was going to play this gig, and my dad and mom were going to be there, and all my friends were going to be there, and my wife and kids were going to be there, and I was going to do a great job, and they were going to say, wow, you tried hard and you did a great job. And you know, it turns out that I never got that good at music, and I never had that moment. But I think still in the back of my mind, I personally think I have this sort of redemption fix that I'm looking for. I'm kind of wondering, do you ever have that feeling where, is there like a secret audience in your mind that you want to impress that maybe isn't everyone else? Are there people that are really the high water mark, the measure of, or do you just do what you do and you don't worry about?
No, I'm not that healthy. I'm much more complicated and neurotic than that. And I think that, but this is my work. That's my life work, is to get to a point where it's about really pleasing myself and feeling satisfied and gratified within myself. If I am forever trying to fill this unfillable hole of lack of self-esteem, if I am forever looking for the approval of my father, who was very undemonstrative and taciturn and, to put it nicely, very economical in his praise. And the praise that I received from my father was vis-a-vis his friends, who would say, do you have any idea how proud your father is? And I would say, no, I don't. I said, well, you should know. He's incredibly proud of you. And, you know, I would say, well, I wish that he had told me, but it wasn't until the end of his life that he did tell me, and he did it in writing, and he would do it verbally. But the die was cast by then, and so my life has been, I think, the acting. The antidote to all of that is really doing what you love doing. You know, if you And you can tell by how soothed you are by doing something. I know that when I sit down to play the guitar, I'm self-taught, but there is something so holistic and so soothing about me and that instrument, and nobody is judging me. But I do go into fantasies as I'm playing something of, God, I wish, Clapton were out there watching this, or, Bob Dylan. And there's that part of me, that goddamn ego that is always comparing, yeah, but why? What does it matter what I'm doing? James Taylor has already done it in spades, What? God, it's horrible to do that to yourself. I'd never do that to my children. I would encourage them to pursue their dream, and if it feels good and if it lights you up and makes you excited, do it, do more of it, do it all the time. And you really risk doing it at the exclusion of everything else, because that's a real gift. It's this balancing act between, well, what am I trying to say? There is this abiding insecurity. There is this abiding sense of wanting to please the world. Here it is. I could be performing in front of an audience of 1,500, 2,000 people who are adoring and embracing. And there can be one person in one seat who's unwrapping a candy. My attention will go like a laser beam to that one person. I'll say, you son of a bitch. And that's the person I'm trying to get their undivided attention. There's something, maybe it's true of all artists, I don't know, but it's like this insatiable commitment to getting the unconditional, undivided attention of everybody. It's very infantile. It really is infantile. It's very undeveloped. It's totally undeveloped. It's the little kid who wants to be breastfed, who wants every little whimper to be satisfied and addressed. That's alive and well in me. It's part of my artistry. It's part of my passion. It's part of my neurosis. My neurosis is part of my art. It's surely what made Picasso and Van Gogh, and et cetera, and what made Jimi Hendrix and Janis Joplin, and God bless James Taylor, who survived his addiction. It informs. So it's this incredible dance that we do with our neurosis. It's a wonderful dance partner.
You heard it here first, everyone. Neuroses is a wonderful dance partner. Okay, we're listening to a little music here. This is Mike Casey, the saxophone player. He is a completely independent artist. He just self-released the album Sound of Surprise, live at the Side Door. Although he is completely independent, he is getting great mentions from people like Sonny Rollins and Quincy Jones. He's playing at the Brick Jazz Festival in Brooklyn in October of 2017. A lot of good press coming out about this guy, and I'm really glad to have stumbled onto him. We actually got to be friends through Instagram. I don't remember exactly how it happened, but hey, the internet makes the world a whole lot smaller. The tune you're listening to right now is called Heartbreak. I hope you'll notice that he's playing in a trio, but it's just a saxophone, bass, and drums. There is no chordal instrument to keep this guy afloat. He's having to swim all on his own, and I think that is a wonderful creative risk to be taken. Hope you enjoy it too. Keep on listening. Thanks for going down that path with me.
It was fun.
Some people won't go down the rabbit hole. So I mean, you have future. You have things that are, you've done TV and film and theater, and you've got musical activities. But I'm wondering, are there creative bucket list items that are just still weighing on your heart? Give me one or two.
Yes. You ask if I am married. Am I not a man? And is not man stupid? I am married. I have a wife, children, house, the full catastrophe. And now I have nothing. I need nothing. I fear nothing. I judge nothing. I am free. One morning in Salonika, I never will forget, I was walking past the oldest man I think I ever met. He was kneeling in an orchard, and he turned and smiled at me. And he said, "Come here, Sonny. Watch me plant this almond tree." I tell you, boss, this man, he was over 95. He had a week, maybe 2 to stay alive. Still, he had to plant this almond tree. And when I asked why, he says, "I live every day as if I will never die." Imagine, boss. He lives every day as if he would never die. I live as if I might die any minute. And for that reason, just that reason, I am free. I see somewhere, I go somewhere. I am free. There is just one Zorba. And that Zorba, I must be. That's my bucket list.
Freedom. Freedom, how it finds you. Jeez, man, I'm like blown away. I've never interviewed anyone like you.
It's me and my dance partner, my neurosis.
Okay, so let's see. You've got other projects coming up. You mentioned this Unibomber thing. Can you tell us a little bit about that? A little more. How did you come to that? And
that one.
It sounds like it's going well.
Yeah, it's got a great review today. It's premiering tonight. Where are we? August 1st. It's on Discovery Channel. By the time your people hear this, we will have been launched. Got great review. It's been reviewed as the best new series of the summer. It's the story about Ted Kaczynski, who became known as the Unabomber. I play Bob Guccione, and it was one of those wonderful events when I got a phone call saying, "We want you to play Bob Guccione. You're the only one we want. You're the guy." And he said, "Yes." So, we did that, and I watched a lot of stuff, mainly his interviews with Charlie Rose. Bob Guccione, how does Bob Guccione fit into the story of the Unabomber? The Unabomber sent out communications to the New York Times and the Washington Post. So for 20 years, he was blowing people up, innocent people. He was the first, or maybe the best known American terrorist. And just randomly blowing people up, I think in government facilities, government related. And he wanted to get attention for his manifesto, which was about what is wrong with the government. God, would that he were alive now. The Post and the New York Times said, "We don't negotiate with terrorists." Guccione, who was a maverick, of course, created Penthouse magazine, said, "I will publish your manifesto in its entirety, unedited, with the proviso that you promise that you will stop killing, that you will not kill one more person." He agreed to that. Kaczynski, as the Unabomber, agreed to that. And so Guccione published the manifesto in toto and gave him his own forum on a monthly basis. And through that, there was enough exposure for the FBI to be able to track him down.
Oh, interesting.
So that's how Guccione.
So to serve two needs. He actually served the Unabomber's need, and he also served everyone else's need by helping him track down this.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I had no clue. Well, I look forward to seeing that on the wire there.
Yeah, and there's another great gig that's coming up. It's a film called Woman Walks Ahead, and it's with Jessica Chastain, and I play her father, and that's going to be a big movie, and it's about a woman named Catherine Weldon, who in the late 1800s traveled out west. She was a portrait painter, and her goal was to find Sitting Bull and to do a portrait of him. And that is the iconic, famous portrait of Sitting Bull that we all know from our school books. She's the artist who did that, so it's a story about her. That's coming out sometime this year or early next year. And then there's a play that I'm going to do in London called Mend, M-E-N-D, in which I play an invalid actor who is an atheist, and he's housebound with his caregiving daughter who is a born-again Christian. It's a comedy.
Yeah, it sounds light already.
It's a comedy. It is. It's funny, but we're gonna put that up in London early next year.
Where can listeners out there find out more information about you and keep track of what you're up to?
I have a website, so michaelnouri.com.
Okay, I'll provide links in the show notes.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And do you do social media and all that stuff? Or
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Instagram, Facebook.
Okay, I'll provide links to all that so everyone can check it out.
Cool.
I appreciate your time. I don't have any more deep questions.
Were there some deep questions?
These didn't feel deep.
I'm still waiting for the deep ones.
Jeez, man. You're a good sport.
Oh, I enjoyed it. You're a good interviewer.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you.
I
I don't feel like I've ever really been good at much, but I feel I actually got into interviewing because I was a shitty listener. And I thought I better learn how to ask questions and listen.
I want you to get a book. I just bought it. It is... who played Hawkeye in... Yes. Him.
I'll look it up.
Oh, come on. Alan Alda.
Alan Alda.
It's Alan Alda's new book. It's just shown up in bookstores and it's on the bestseller list. I can't think of the title, but I just picked it up. It's all about listening.
I will go check it out. I'll swing by my local bookstore and pick it up.
It's really cool.
Well, thanks for the recommendation. After I read it, I'll buy you lunch, and we'll see if I have any better capacity to pay attention and listen.
You either already are a good listener, or you're a great actor, great at faking it.
Well, that's a compliment right there.
This is really enjoyable. Thank you for inviting
my pleasure.
me to do this.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on.
We're shaking hands now. We just
yes.
shook hands. So.
That's what it looks like in audio. Thanks so much, and I hope to keep in touch. And good luck with everything as it's launching. And I wish you even more great success around that.
Thank you.
Yeah, be well.
Thanks.
A little addendum here. We were about to walk out the door and got on another interesting topic. And since this is my podcast and I can do whatever I want, we're going to talk just a few more minutes.
Yes. I was just... I just had the afterthought, which should have been a forethought, about meditation and the importance that meditation has played in my life. It's something I've been doing since the late 60s, early 70s. And without exaggeration, it has really saved my life in many ways and on many occasions. It has given me a way to, if I could use the metaphor of a car and turn the ignition off, that's what I do. I begin the day every day by not turning the ignition on yet, not engaging the gears, not turning on the radio. And this is something that I was introduced to really through my mom and my brother when I went to see at that time, a 13-year-old teacher named Miraji. He goes by the name of Prem now. He was 13 years old at the time, and now he's 55. I saw him at Hunter College, and I was experiencing a modicum of success in my career, but there was an itch that I couldn't reach. And I heard him say, if what you're looking for is peace of mind, I can show you how to have peace of mind. And I don't charge for it because you already have it, it's in you. I can show you how to access it. Well, he did, and it's something that I have enjoyed and practiced on a daily basis for the better part of 45 years.
Is this like a technique and a life practice? I mean, is this something that people can buy a book on, or I mean, I see tons of books about meditation,
Yes.
but your particular, the approach is
Yes.
like a way of doing this?
Yes, there is a technique. There's a very specific technique. Prem calls it knowledge, and it is self-knowledge. It's nothing new. It's ancient. It's talked about in every scripture. And anybody who is curious about it and would like to check it out can go online and look up Prem Rawat. That's Prem Rawat. And they can listen to what he has to say and see if it has any resonance for them. But I can say that it has provided me with an oasis of soothing and equanimity and peace, just peace of mind. I've lived long enough, 7 decades, to have satisfied every sense in pretty much every conceivable way. And there's a wonderful saying in French, l'appétit vient en mangeant. The more you eat, the hungrier you get. And there is nothing in this world that will satisfy the infinite, unending appetite of the ego. So how do we satisfy this ego? How do we put the transmission of the ego into park or into neutral? Or better still just to turn the ignition off and to have no engine sound at all and to just be still in the company of our breath and this wonderful energy that sustains us. And that is the gift of knowledge. And I would encourage your listeners, your audience to really check it out. That would be the single most important thing that I would want to share.
Well, thanks for sharing it. I'm glad we turned the mic back on.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
All right, there you have it, folks. This episode is coming to a close. Big thanks to Michel Nouri for coming on the show. I really enjoyed talking with him. I hope you all enjoyed listening. You know, I'd like to hang out with him again sometime. I had a good time chatting with him. Maybe we'll go see some music or something in the future. Who knows? Okay, if you swing by makemoveswithjohn.com and find the blog post for this article, I will provide links so you can learn more about Michel and some of the things he discussed in his interview. And I will also provide links so you can find out more about Mike Casey, the saxophone player who is featured in the music break of this episode. Okay, coming up in the next episode is Ali Husseini, who is a world-class fisherman who took his love for fishing and turned it into a world-class television show. It is really something else. I can't wait to share that episode with you. He is definitely a creative risk taker as well. Okay, thank you all so much for your time and your attention. I appreciate you tuning in to listen. And until the next episode, I hope you will all take good care of yourselves and go out there and make moves.